This
Okay,
conference will now be recorded.
am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
Yes,
so let us start. So basically, this is the demo Gatling session. So let me give you the overview of the course for today, and then we'll see the Gatling key features and how Gatling works through the different platforms. We'll talk about that. So basically, this session will take you the basics of Gatling to the advanced level of Gatling. It will teach you like how to do modular scripting as per industry standard that is required. We'll do the parameterization, correlation, and every other stuff that is required for a project. Also, we'll be covering the basics of performance testing because we are not aware like who are the audience. It might be the fresher, it might be the experience. So we will start from very basics and we will go to the advanced level. So let me share my screen. Uh, Please acknowledge once it is available.
It's visible.
Visual.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So we'll have different topics. You are aware about the topics what we are going to cover. So we'll have the performance overview. So we'll cover the performance overview. Then we will discuss about the test environment versus the prod environment. What should be the configuration when we are talking about the performance testing? Whether we call as LLE lower level environment or pre-prod. What will be the configuration? How to decide that? Then we will look into the NFR gathering. What are the different key attributes? What are the journey we have to cover? What are the details we require before starting the performance project? Then we'll talk about the workload model. So the input for workload model will be the NFR gathering basically. So we will learn how to calculate the concurrent users, how to calculate pacing, the think time, the TPS. So how do we calculate these things in real time? We'll discuss about that. Then we will move towards the server architecture, the application architecture, how the application will be, how the application flows the data within the system. We'll talk about that. Then we have the API and UI test approach. How do we do API testing as well as how do we do UI testing through Gatling? Then we will see the basics of the Gatling. Then we will move to the advanced level. We will look into the recording of the scripts, generating the scripts. We will learn correlation. We'll learn checkpoint. We'll learn scenario design. We'll learn simulation design. Also we'll look into the Scala custom code because we know that Gatling is based on Scala basically. So we will look into some of the Scala custom coding, how to do that to achieve our scenario through the Gatling. Then we will speak about error validation and error handling, how to insert the checkpoints, how to validate our response, how to handle the error on the basis of the status code. Then we will speak about the report generation and then master slave architecture of the Gatling to achieve the real-time scenario to put the load with the multiple load generators. Then we'll talk about the distributed testing through Gatling. We have the headers and protocol configurations, also cache and cookie handling. How do we do in Gatling? We'll speak about that. Also, we will show you the Jenkins, the CI/CD pipeline through the Gatling. Okay, so in this 2 or 3 days of the demo session, what we will cover, let us differentiate. So here we will see the overview of the Gatling. We'll see the recording of raw scripts. Then we will check the running the simulation, running the test through Gatling, and we'll check the report. Also, we'll talk about the features of the Gatling. This is enough to run any test. It will cover everything. But going to the advanced session, we will have the each and every steps. We will check how do we do the parameterization correlation in depth, and we will check the modular scripting. So basically, how do we do the modular scripting? Let me show you. So modular scripting is something we do right real time, not for just learning person, real time as per industry standard. So any code oriented languages or tool, you cannot do it through the UI because we don't have very much responsive UI in Gatling as LoadRunner and Jmeter. So we have to use either Eclipse or IntelliJ. I'm using IntelliJ right now. So IntelliJ will have the setup something like this, which will have the options to run and um, execute that test. Also, it provides us the code editor to debug the errors, and also it provides the recording options over there. So we'll move into it. Let us start with the very basics of the Gatling. So let us talk about why Gatling becomes so popular in the market nowadays. So basically, the Gatling is used as industry standard tool. It provides the better load generation, less resource consumptions, and it has better pipelining with CI/CD execution. When we talk about the Gatling overview, so what is the architecture of the Gatling? So basically, Gatling is developed in Scala. Scala is a language similar to the Java. Okay, although it inherits the libraries of Java, and it has its own libraries too. So Gatling is built upon the Netty and Akka. So Netty and Akka are the two components. Okay. So what is the benefit of developing it in Scala? So since it's developed in Scala, developers can also use it and develop scripts and execute it. When we talk about the its components, that is Netty and Akka. So Akka is a framework basically which is a message driven architecture. So what we if you have heard of the processes and threads that invoke the users, let us say example in LoadRunner, Gatling has some different approach of generating the number of users in the test. Okay, so Gatling, since it's a message driven architecture, in Gatling users are message driven rather than threads or processes. So what is Akka? Akka is for the virtual users orchestrations. What does it mean? So basically Akka overrides the JVM limitation of handling the threads. Basically JVM consumes lot of resources while handling or serving the resources to the search. So Akka came up with a special feature to increase the number of threads as messages and run asynchronously. What do you mean by asynchronously? Asynchronously is something not blocking other messages to flow through the system, basically for generating the users. And of course net is used for the non-blocking HTTP. So this is a IO feature that is related to the number of users and resource consumption. That's why I said in the beginning that Gatling consumes less resources as compared to other tools. So Scala language is similar to Java, but it has its own features too. So Scala, how do we run the test? So Scala code, we run the scripts in Scala source code, and it's compiled to Java bytecode and could be run in the JVM. So basically Scala doesn't have any another virtual environment called as Scala virtual environment to run its code. It works as JVM as a best. Got it? Any questions, anybody, please? No one?
Uh, this tool requires understanding of Java.
No, that's not the thing. Basically, it's the tool. Okay, so Basics is fine once you start writing the code. Okay, basically everything is recorded. You don't have to write it through the scratch. Once you I will show you going through the session. Once you will record your scripts, what Gatling does, Gatling will create a framework of its own. It will create the scripts automatically. Then, like you do in any other tool, you have to just do the parameterization, correlations, or protocol configurations. Okay, how do we insert the request? Just few configuration that we'll learn later. Apart from that, no any other coding experience required, until and unless you are deciding to do something, achieve you are deciding to achieve something custom that is not in the scope of the Gatling. Got it?
Yes, got it. And
Anything else? Anybody?
project you use for this training purpose?
Sorry, can you please come again?
Which application or project will you use for training?
Okay, we will cover both API and UI. One UI application, one API application.
Okay, got it.
And
Thank you.
we will cover like 5 to 6 APIs having the different methods, request methods like get, post, put, patch, delete, anything. And UI will be something like home, login, search, place order, add to cart. Like this flow will use.
Okay, got it.
So here comes the thing. Everything which comes with the great facility comes with a cost. Okay, so here is the thing. Gatling also has two versions. One is Gatling load testing and Gatling frontline. So there are some differentiations what they provide. So Gatling load testing and frontline both provides unlimited testing. Okay, there is no difference in how you can test, how much you can test. So throughput, how much throughput, how much users you can use. So that is common in both. Like is Blaze meter, you have restrictions to use the number of users, but in Gatling, both the paid and unpaid version. Basically, the unpaid version is load testing and paid version frontline. So both has the flexibility to generate the virtual users request per second or throughput. What is paid? Cloud-based load generation comes with paid version. Distributed mode testing comes with paid version. Colorful reports are available in both. Response time requests, basically the report HTML reports comes in both. Live reporting history of runs trends, it only comes in the frontline version, not in the basic version. So let me tell you, it shows the cost, okay, but it doesn't comes, it's a very better features. Okay, so basically unpaid version, that is open source version, Gatling load testing, basically it's enough for your testing, for any industry standard testing also it's enough. You don't have to go to the frontline testing. But even if you have some budget and you can spend some money, then you can go for frontline version, but it doesn't add too much value to it. So what are the advantages of Gatling? So advantage of Gatling is it's OS and browser independent. Okay, it doesn't depend on any operating system or browser. It runs everywhere. Gatling enables to write performance test as source code. So you can run the custom coding in Gatling. You can create your scripts as a code in Gatling. So you don't have any dependencies on any tool. You can run it standalone if you have a good coding experience. Even if you don't have, you have the UI of recording and running the rest, you can use that. As I was saying, like in the previous slides, like it's since it's built in Netty and Akka, it's a better resource utilization. That's why it's handles the load better than any other tool, which help us to save the CPU and RAM basically. It is very compatible with CI/CD platform, like we will see in the session going forward, like how we are integrating it through Jenkins. It has the ready to present HTML reports. Basically, once the test is completed, it automatically detects the transactions and generates the HTML reports for us, ready to use. We don't have to do anything. So only handful of protocols are supported in the Gatling, which is one of the drawback of the Gatling basically. So it supports HTTP, JMS, WebSocket, and server sent events, but it is best used for HTTP protocol. So apart from advantages, Gatling has some limitation too. So using the free version, distributed testing is not so good like any other open source tool. But yes, we can achieve it. Like Jmeter, you can go, you can change the configurations and you can create a master slave architecture. That's something Gatling doesn't provide inbuilt. Okay, you have to integrate it through the CI/CD pipelining. Okay, you have to implement the master slave architecture in the Jenkins to implement that. Going through the session, we'll look into it. Poor level of information during execution time, that's true, because when we run the test we only get to see over the console like the how much users, how much past transaction, failed transaction, but we cannot see the response times and other things over there. However, the error codes and error details are clearly visible over there. UI testing is not supported, so rendering, browser rendering, uh, testing of the any static calls and measuring those performance is not there as provided by LoadRunner by HP Diagnostics. Gatling doesn't have any such features as of now. So since we'll be Gatling is built in Scala, it is very important to run about the features of the Scala. So Scala is basically the object oriented and functional language. It is Java compatible. It is statically typed. What do you mean by statically typed? Statically typed is something when we when we write our source code in the IDE, it will give us the suggestion and errors. It is less verbose. Yes, that's true. Less verbose means a program for 100 lines of code in Java can be accommodated in 10 lines in Scala. That is the less verbose. That is can be our logic can be achieved in the less number of lines. So we have to code less and the output is same as we do in Java. So here are the data types. We are talking about the data types of the Scala. So integer is 32-bit, short is 16, byte is 8-bit. So you can read this, don't have to. Okay, let us just a minute. Yeah. So recording a scenario. So how do we do recording in the scenario? So basically it's a UI of the Gatling for recording. So recording has two mode. Gatling provides two modes of recording. First is HTTP proxy and second is har converter. Okay. So as name suggests, HTTP proxy is when we go and we record the browser events is the something called HTTP proxy. Har converter is that we generated the har file and we are converting it to the scripts automatically through the Gatling UI. So there are few configuration over here. I will talk about it in practical just after this. Okay, let us look into it. So download Gatling. First go to Google and download Gatling. Okay, so Gatling professional load test.io, go gatling.io. Okay, so in this website you can see here the two version, open source and enterprise. Download the open source version. I have already downloaded it. It is in my system. When I will go to that, yeah, I have the software Gatling over there. So it will unzip it. It will come as high charts bundle. Go to high chart bundle. There is a bin. Okay, this is I am showing you how to run the Gatling, how Gatling supports the things. However, we are not going to use it this way when we go for modular approach, because we will integrate everything in our ID. So ID will pick up the things and we will do that. So here's the gatling.bat file. double click on that. Sorry, first we have to go to recorder. Okay, there is recorder.bat. Double click on recorder.bat, run it. It will open soon. It will open the recorder window.
Am I audible?